On today's show, we finally made it to NHL Draft weekend.
And we take a look at a bunch of mock drafts, and we give our top 10 Sens-type players that could be drafted at 21st overall.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. There are still tickets available for tonight's NHL Draft. They're going as low as $81, including fees at Game Time. No surprise fees. It is Game Time. $20 off using our code LOCKEDONNHL. Today is Friday, June 27th. Pilsy, we're not in Vegas. We're not there. But still, the NHL Draft is the marquee event outside of the Stanley Cup playoffs on the hockey calendar.
Oh, Ross, I love the draft. I'm so excited. I've literally been having dreams and nightmares about how this draft can go. I've read every mock draft available. I've looked at everyone's final rankings. You and I completed our final rankings yesterday. Go check those out on Twitter. Let us know what you love, what you hate, what you agree on, what you disagree on. And this might be the wildest draft in a while. And I feel like, stop me if you've heard that before, I feel like before every draft, people kind of hint at that. But since this draft has such, I don't want to say little depth to it, but since it isn't as strong as other draft years, every team's list is probably so different that different teams see value where other teams don't, and first round picks could be moving like crazy. The rumors we're hearing about top NHL players on the move, possibly today. Buckle up. This is going to be a good one, even though it's decentralized.
As you were saying that, I'm getting flashbacks of every election campaign. This is the most consequential election in our lifetime. It's like, well, this could be the wildest draft of our lifetime. Yes. Last year, according to Puckpedia, there were 7 trades on draft day. So we'll see if they can one up that. And it does make for more intrigue that multiple teams have multiple picks, not only in the first round. Shout out to Philadelphia in particular. And who's the other team with 3 picks? Top of your head? Nashville, thank you. But then you look at Pittsburgh and Montreal having back-to-back picks. 11 and 12 for the Penguins, 16 and 17 for Montreal. Should make for some absolute drama tonight from the Peacock Theater in downtown Los Angeles. Hopefully the only decentralized draft we have to live through, because it is so much fun having all the teams and people and players and everyone in the same place. But that's a story for another day. The story today is about how Steve Staios is going to make his team better. The Senators make the playoffs for the first time in 8 seasons after a 7-year drought. Then they lose in 6 games. So how can they get themselves to be a better team? Well, going into the NHL Draft weekend, the Senators have $10.7 million in cap space available, but Claude Giroux remains unsigned. Latest on that from Bruce Garriock yesterday is the Senators seem to be offering around $2.7 million as a base salary plus bonuses, while Claude Giroux's camp believes they should be much closer to David Perron's $4 million cap hit going into next season. So there's still a bridge to gap there, but it feels like 3.5 would be a nice middle ground, or maybe 3.25 with bonuses that he could hit. If he's so confident in his ability, feels like that might be the sweet spot.
Yeah, bonuses are going to have to be a part of this, Ross. I think that's been made clear from the, I don't want to say stalemate, but the stalling in this deal getting done in the negotiations between Claude Giroux and the Ottawa Senators. I can't believe we're still here, Ross. If you would have asked me, and I think you did ask me like a month ago, when are you starting to get nervous about Claude Giroux? I think I said like a week before the draft. It is draft day today. Yep. In hours, the draft will be happening. And in only a few days, July 1st, free agency will open up. And if he's able to get to the market, I'm not sure what teams would be interested in him, but there are teams that could throw pretty decent offers at him if he wanted. But I just can't see a world where Claude Giroux is going to pick up and move for a 1-year deal for a little bit extra money, unless he's really standing on his principles and wants a certain dollar amount because he feels like he's earned that respect. And that's fine. I can respect that, but it would just make so much more sense if he stayed here and they were able to get something done.
Outside of the Senators world, there are names being thrown out there. Most recently, Noah Dobson, who is a restricted free agent right now. And we've already seen a big restricted free agent move teams. JJ Peterka going to Utah earlier in the week, ultimately signing a 5-year extension there. Noah Dobson, Elliot Friedman reporting that the right shot defenseman from the 2018 draft, so he's 25 years old, same draft as Brady Tkachuk. He's a heck of a player, man. He had a bit of a down step this year after a really impressive season 2 years ago. Sounds like Columbus and Montreal are the front runners there. Columbus, another one of those teams with multiple picks in the first round. They've got 14th and 20th overall. So we'll see if there's another domino to fall there. And then there's the intrigue in the actual draft order itself, because it's going to start early. All indications point to Matthew Schaefer being the first overall pick, the left shot defenseman from the Erie Otters. But after that, I don't know if it's smoke screens or what, but Cam Robinson, our friend from Elite Prospects, is certainly, he's got his ear to the streets in Los Angeles, and he's saying a lot of smoke around Anton Frondel potentially being the pick for the San Jose Sharks over Michael Misa, which would just create such a buzz and environment where we kind of saw it last year with Beckett Seneca going 3rd overall to the Anaheim Ducks. Even Lev Shunov, too, felt like a bit of a surprise, at least, where you had Demidov there and you just felt like there was a natural connection with Connor Bedard. I'm never going to let that go, by the way.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Lev Shunov was kind of targeted to be the Blackhawks pick for a while. It's just crazy that there was even more teams that passed on him and allowed him to get to Montreal. And speaking of Montreal, Ross, it seems like they're kind of the front runners for Noah Dobson. And there's lots of different rumors and talks about what could be the return. Reinbacher, possibly a part of that. The 2 picks, 16th and 17th, going to the Islanders. And then the Islanders potentially using picks 16 and 17 that they get from Montreal to move up to get Hagens, the Long Island kid. So if the Islanders find a way to walk away from this draft with Schaefer and Hagens, that would be impressive, but it is a risky game putting all your chips in to try to get a guy at a certain position, because all it takes is for one team to be like, oh, we know what you're doing here. Either give us way more than what's fair value, or we're not doing it, and you guys are screwed left holding the bag, much like the Boston Bruins that one draft year where they had 3 first-round picks in a row and Martin Jones, which they did not want all of that. They were trying to make a bigger move. I don't even know what big move they were trying to make, but then they can't pull it off. They're left holding the bag, and they make 3 of the worst first-round picks. 2
of the worst. Nebraska's okay, but the others were so bad that it overshadows it. It's more so who the next 3 picks were with Barzal, Connor, and Thomas Chabot.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You would take Barzal, Connor, and Thomas Chabot over DeBrusk and the other 2 guys any day of the week. So they were not prepared to hold on to those 3 picks. And if
Zaboral was Chabot's D partner all year. I love that and sometimes it works against Ottawa too, where they took Tyler Clevin and Brock Faber was his partner all year. Clevin, great player, but Brock Faber, elite player. And it's just funny when you see 2 guys all year long together and you maybe pick the wrong one.
And imagine this is how Matthew Darche starts off his career as an NHL GM, making a move like that.
Well, it certainly send a message to the Islanders. They're not going to play boring hockey anymore, and maybe we'll be able to stop clowning on them for being the overtime loss merchants of the National Hockey League. I saw a lot of Islanders fans are calling them Shagans is the theme of the draft. They need Schaefer, and they need the Long Island boy, James Hagens. And Hagens is doing everything he can to angle himself to the New York Islanders. Have you seen in every interview this guy is putting Islanders like spin on things?
No. What do you mean?
Oh, buddy. He was on Chicklets, and I saw a clip where he said they asked him what player did he play against this year that really like caught his attention. And he said Cal Ritchie, who was traded from Colorado to the Islanders at the deadline. And then they were asking him a question about him and his brother growing up. And he said, yeah, we used to fight in the basement. I used to pretend to be Matt Martin.
Nice.
So yeah, he and Matt Martin just retired and is now in the front office of the New York Islanders. So nothing like a little tire pump going into draft weekend.
Wow.
He's also a heck of a player. There's a good chunk of solid players in this draft class, and we'll see where they all go tonight. This is a double dip day for us here on Locked On Senators. We will have our immediate reaction to the first round episode coming right after tonight's festivities, and then tomorrow live stream starting at 11:30 Eastern. We've got special guests lined up, and we will just be hanging out during the course of the second day of the draft. Tonight, though, you'll have to follow us on Twitter for up-to-the-minute reaction, and whenever the Sens make a move, obviously we'll make a quick hitter video on that, but we'll have a full, normal Locked On Senators episode for you tonight after the first round of the draft. But who will it be at 21 overall? After the break, we'll get to what the experts around the world think about the 21st overall pick. We've got, 14 different mock drafts? So we'll pull up who those 10 people, and then we got to get into this other absolute garbage that came out, and that'll be the tease there.
Whoa.
And then we'll wrap up today's show looking at who the most Sens type players are based on their draft history. If you missed it a couple days ago, we did an audit on the Sens' last 5 drafts. So based on that information, now we're going to hypothesize about who that means could be targets for Ottawa at 21. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices actually drop closer to puck drop and the start of your event, so you could score big without overpaying. Check out Zone Deals. They pick the best seats at the lowest prices. Right now, Zone Deals are offering 10% off exclusive Zone Deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. You can see your exact seat before checkout, so you have total confidence. And Game Time includes fees upfront when you use the all-in pricing feature and backs every order with their ticket coverage guarantee, covering cancellations, job loss, and even offering 24-hour returns. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
All right, Pilsy. I was trying to be in symphony with you for your tagline on Game Time, but I had the old mute click down there, so we are out of sync. But you did a great job. You didn't need me to harmonize with you on that one. Where we are in harmony is getting mad at lists, which is something we've done for years here on Locked On Senators, and we got a number of lists to get mad at. Well, frankly, we don't have time to run through every pick of every mock draft, so we have just clipped who the Ottawa Senators select in each mock draft from who we feel are the most reputable sources online. Let's start with the guy who started our mock draft here on Locked On Senators, the 6-hour extravaganza that does have timestamps, and in the description, it not only shows you what team, but it's going to show what player as well. So when a player gets picked, you can jump ahead because, yeah, there's a little bit of how they would fit in that team, but it's a lot also about what they are like as players on their development path and everything. So that could be a good piece of resource, I should say, to have with you on draft night. We've also got 50 draft profiles available, 5 to 8 minute segments. Boom, quick hitter when the pick is made. Pilsy, Cam Robinson from over at Elite Prospects, he said he really sat down and was trying to figure out how to decide on his final mock draft. And gosh darn it, I am so happy with which way he ended up going. The final pick that he's got for the Ottawa Senators at 21st overall is Seattle Thunderbirds captain Braden Coots, who is all the way up at number 13 on my list.
Yeah, Braden Coots would be a great choice for the Ottawa Senators. Not only the Thunderbirds captain, but the captain of Team Canada at the U18s as well. Not a typical Sens pick, Ross, but I do think that's someone, if he's in that range, you have to at least consider taking him.
But like, he does have some of the attributes that the Sens look for in terms of the compete level, the forecheck, the leadership, the athleticism. He's just a smidge under 6 feet tall.
Yep.
Just a smidge. But hey, so was Ridley Gray.
Yes.
So was Ridley Gray. And there is a bit of overlap with how those two play.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So Braden Coots, the pick for Cam Robinson in his mock draft. I replied to him on Twitter. I said, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" We've decided that Cole Reshny and Braden Coots, those would be A+ drafts. And he replied saying, "You might want to put the Reshny dream to bed." So we're not even going to discuss Cole Reshny. He is not on any of the mock drafts, but Braden Coots is the pick for Cam Robinson in elite prospects. And I want to say that the mock draft, I don't want master maybe, because he did a full 7-round one. I don't know 200 players from this draft. Hand up. Yeah, call me a fraud. But Corey Prodman with the Athletic, we last had him with Braden Coots, but that has since been updated. As of today, Lyndon Lakovic, the pick. That's a guy who we heard throughout the season the Senators have interest in. Doesn't fit their type in the sense that he's not overly physical, but he is 6'4" and he can move around the ice.
Yeah, he's got the size that they're looking for. He can score goals. I wouldn't be surprised, Ross, if he's a guy that actually ends up in Ottawa, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he gets picked 2-3 picks just before. Like, that is the sweet spot for Lakovic, I would say 20 or like 18 to 23.
Yep. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Lakovic is a left winger playing for the Moose Jaw Warriors. Let's stick with the Athletic. Scott Wheeler, Jack Nesbitt, the pick, Belsey.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very Sens type pick. Size, plays a physical game.
Improved. They like that.
Yep.
His year-over-year improvement was good, but just would not be an exciting pick. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
For the Ottawa Senators. Let's head over to NHL.com. There were 2 different mock drafts over at NHL.com. Adam Kimmelman has Ben Kindle as the pick for the Ottawa Senators.
Here we go. Everybody that's been following along knows I'm a big Ben Kindle guy. He's one of my top choices for the Sens. This guy scores. He's got great chemistry with Carter Yakimchuk, both of them playing for the Calgary Hitmen this year. He had 99 points. That's pretty damn good. But a little smaller at 5'10" and in the 180s. But it's not like he's tiny. So is he smaller? Yes, but there's still room for him to grow. And I think the skill that he brings and the connection with Yak and the fact that they would have probably got a lot of viewings of him should help his interest in the Ottawa Senators.
And I think there's a good chance that he's available at 21st overall.
Yes.
And the thing that the Senators kept saying is they're going to pick a player with elite hockey sense. Not many players smarter than Ben Kindle in this draft. Kindle had 99 points playing for the Calgary Hitmen. Sticking at NHL.com and sticking in Alberta in the WHL, right shot defenseman. This is the only defenseman out of all of them that has been mocked to the Ottawa Senators, and that's Blake Fiddler.
I'm also a big fan of Blake Fiddler. This is a Sens pick through and through. Right shot defenseman, 6'4", son of longtime NHLer Vernon Fiddler. Like, he's not going to put up points in a big way. I don't think the offense is going to translate to the NHL, but he is able to do that. I think he finished with 33 points this year with the Edmonton Oil Kings, but he will be a physical shutdown defenseman. And I think he can fit into your bottom 4, especially on that right side, in a great way, seeing as the left side is already taken care of. There's not a single other defenseman, Ross, that I think would make sense for the Ottawa Senators to select at 21. Really, there's such a drop between once you get to Fiddler in most people's rankings, and then once you get to some of the other guys like Boumedienne, Brustevich, maybe Cam Reed. Yeah, like those guys are a little farther back. I think Cam Reed's going to be gone by 21. Yeah, we'll see. Fair. But
I still take Fiddler over Cam Reed, but that's just me.
Agreed. Yeah, Fiddler is a left shot defenseman, nice player, but not what the Ottawa Senators need.
No, agree with that. So that's NHL.com. Let's go to the official broadcasters in Canada, starting with Sam Cosentino. Say what you want about his list, but certainly he is connected. He's got Malcolm Spence as the pick, left winger from Erie. To me, this would be a prototypical Sens pick from the sense that he is a high compete, high floor player. I just worry about the upside not being as high as some of the others in this range offensively.
Yeah, and that's fair. He doesn't have that kind of flash, but when you've got a guy that could compete like this and he's still able to put up points, I think he projects to be a middle six winger. I don't see any way that he becomes a top line guy, probably even more likely a third line winger, but I think he would be a really good third line winger, and he's going to Michigan from the Erie Otters. So he's one of those kids making that switch. I think that's a good switch for a player like him. And I wouldn't be, it's not the most exciting pick when you talk about upside, Ross, but I see a lot of Spence's game that I think could be translatable to the pros. And that's important too. Sometimes you just need to try to get someone that you think can play NHL games, and he's got more upside in that sense than a guy like Jack Nesbitt would be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that's why he's also the pick for Stephen Ellis over at Daily Faceoff. But Ellis's first note is this is who I would take, not necessarily who I think the Sens would take. Now let's go to TSN, where Justin Carbonneau's the pick. I'll be shocked if he's available at 21, but wouldn't hate the pick, that's for sure.
That's an exciting pick on upside, Ross. Carbonneau has a lot of offensive instincts. Maybe not the sharpest defensively, but I could see him being a really good second line winger, and he plays on the right side. So getting a right winger would be great for the Ottawa Senators. If Carbonneau's available, I think you need to take a look at him. That's a lot of skill, and he's higher in most people's rankings than 21 for sure. And the Ottawa Senators are interested and are really making an emphasis to, I don't want to say include, but embrace the Francophone community. And they often mention Ottawa Gatineau. This is a Quebec guy, a Francophone. I think he could be a lot of fun, and he's a confident kid, and he should be. He's got the skills to back it up.
He does. Now, with that said, there's a move here that I don't think Senators fans necessarily have thought about this player, but when we did our look at how the Sens drafted, they like drafting out of Sweden. At Flow Hockey, Chris Peters, another great resource. He's got Milton Gastrin as the pick for the Ottawa Senators. Maybe not as exciting, but he also fits them in terms of the leadership style. He's a guy who I have 28th on my list, so a little bit more of a reach, but you can see why the Senators would be interested in a player that wore the C for Team Sweden in his age category and is also a late birthday.
Yeah, Gastrin definitely, I think, is someone that the Ottawa Senators will probably be looking at. For me, there's not a lot
he's sick, dude. He's a good player.
Yeah, there's not a lot of exciting upside for me. But, however, if you're putting him beside Jack Nesbitt, I have Gastrin as someone I'm much more interested in. So he's not a guy I have in my hopefuls, but if they selected him, I'd be able to spin zone myself to being positive about it.
I agree. I mean, like, look at the offense he puts up against his own age category is elite. Like in the playoffs this year with U18. So he played all year with the U20 team and had over a point per game. So you're like, okay, he's going to do well. He had 19 points in 9 games with his own category, and then had 10 points in 7 games at the World Under-18s. They lost 7-0 in the finals to Team Canada. Speaking of Canada.
Wait, one last thing though, Ross. The only thing is I don't see a world where he's higher than a bottom 6 forward.
Like a third line center, you're probably your upside on him.
Yeah, which again is okay, but I just think there's going to be other guys with bigger potential available.
Yeah, just good habits, solid would be how you describe Milton Gastrin, maybe less so than like exciting or dynamic and that sort of thing. Our friend Sebastian High over at Locked On NHL Prospects, he's got Bill Zonin as the pick for the Ottawa Senators. That, again, fits the mold of what the Sens like to do.
Yeah, I like Bill Zonin. He had 83 points in 64 games, 16 points in 13 playoff games. He can play center. He can play the wing. He scores goals right in front of the net. He supports his teammate. He plays physical, forechecks with aggression. This is a power forward, and I think it'd be a lot of fun having him in your system and another Quebec guy.
Yeah,
so that'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. So here's the look at the mock drafts available publicly online and who the Senators have selected in each. Now, these are the human-made mock drafts, but are there more?
Human-made? Whoa.
We'll get to others after the break, and then our list of 10 players to keep an eye out for the Senators at 21 based on their history with drafting. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder where did all your money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, but that's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app, though, guys. It's so much more. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money. Start building that wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals together, and stay on the same page without all that stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
All right, Billsy. So we now know who the experts believe could be the picks for the Ottawa Senators at 21st overall. But everybody's wondering, what does artificial intelligence think about this? USA Today did an article that had ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Meta, and Microsoft Copilot as making the picks. But is it artificial intelligence or not? Because they have Cullen Potter from Google Gemini, who we like, but is that intelligence knowing that the Senators would like him? I don't know. And then Cameron Reed, a defenseman under 6 feet tall. So, we're smarter than artificial intelligence.
Well, hold on. What if those end up being the picks, Ross?
If it's Cullen Potter, I'll be okay with that.
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, once even pick 2, Ross, I don't think anyone can say with complete certainty who's going to be there. Like, I think first overall is the only pick people know.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch. I can't wait. By the way, draft starts at 7:00 tonight Eastern time. Yes. The other 2 artificial intelligence agencies, Meta and Microsoft Copilot, Jack Nesbitt's the pick.
Mm-hmm.
We're setting ourselves up for it right here on Locked On Senators. And look, we're not naive to the fact that fits what the Senators like, which is why Jack Nesbitt finds himself on our list of the Senators' most likely favorites at 21st overall. Look, we've covered a lot of these already in our last segment. We made this list before we did the mock draft view, and it's interesting how these names continue to come about. Blake Fiddler, Malcolm Spence, Lyndon Lakovic, Jack Nesbitt, and Braden Coots. Everybody in the left side of our bracket here, and Bill Zonin on the right side, we've already discussed as potential picks. So let's focus on the other 4. Starting with one of the most boom or bust prospects. We had him ranked in our scouting average rankings way lower, but Daniil Prokhorov is a late riser in this draft class, and I'm at the point now where I'll be surprised if he's not a first-round pick.
There's a lot to like about this guy, Ross. We know the Ottawa Senators interviewed 2 Russians based on what Don Boyd said, and one of them had said their joke was me not making the NHL. Okay. All right. But there you go. Ross likes that one. At 6'6", 209, left shot forward. Go watch a highlight tape of him because he has sick hands. He plays a physical game. He'll level guys on a shift-to-shift base.
He looks like a man against toddlers, like not man against boys. Like it's hilarious. It kind of looks a little like Gabriel Eliasson when he was playing in U18s.
But elite puck skills. He's not
Correct.
just a physical guy, which is why he's interesting. He's able to score. He's got dangles. He's got hockey IQ. Like,
can't pass the puck though.
Ross, you know where he can pass the puck though? To the back of the net. And he is, look, I'm not saying he would be the best choice, but
He'd be fun.
oh my God, would that be exciting to have a mythical legend prospect where you don't know anything about, you don't know what they're doing over there in Russia, you don't know when they're going to come over, you're wondering all about their development, what kind of drills they're doing at practice. It would just be so much fun to have a fairy tale creature prospect in the pipeline here.
Yeah, I mean, it would literally be playing Russian roulette with your draft pick.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice here, but
if he pans out, he could be one of the top goal scorers in this draft class, no question.
And look at other teams that have rolled the dice on elite Russian prospects, Ross. It can pay off big for you.
Yep. And now let's go to the rest of them, which are all safe picks. Like we went with him because he is 6'6". He's just, yeah, he's big and strong in the Sens like that. The other ones are big and strong and safe, more so in their projections. 2 American players. We know the Sens like to draft out of the States, less so in the last few years, but overall historically. But let's stick with the OHL where the Sens have drafted out a ton as well. Simon Wang, this would have to be a trade down scenario because you have 45 left shot defensemen in your organization.
Yeah, Ross, let's rephrase that to we would hope this would be a trade down scenario. Simon Wang did not put up a lot of points.
Less than Gabriel Eliasson last year.
Yeah. He started playing competitive hockey late since he grew up in China. He is a very raw prospect. And if you're picking him in the first round, even early second round, you are really rolling the dice on size, and I don't think the Ottawa Senators should be doing that. Like I've said, Ross, honestly, as long as the Ottawa Senators make a selection that proves they're willing to adapt and change their strategy and not just draft a big guy and be like, we got the biggest guy, we win. Just do something different, do something unique, and I will be happy about it, because that's the biggest thing is I need to see the Ottawa Senators scouting staff adapting and finding new ways to diversify this prospect pool. And Ross, we did a deep dive of their drafts of the last 5 years, and there's one trend that is blatantly obvious, and I'm accusing the Ottawa Senators scouting staff of drafting for size. Go ahead, put it on the record, because we have the data to show that that's what they do.
67% of their draft picks over the last 5 years have been 6'2" or taller, which fits in to this next prospect. Will Horkoff also has NHL bloodline. Sean Horkoff played forever in the league, teammate of Steve Stais with the Edmonton Oilers back in the day. He's also now in management, believe the assistant GM for Steve Yzerman with the Detroit Red Wings. But Will Horkoff, another late riser, one of those young players in the NCAA, spark plug type, but also I think will be a high floor player. So that could be one that's of interest to Ottawa. Same with Jack Murtagh, who was at the USN TDP last year. But Murtagh, I would be very excited about just with the raw talent and the tools and the physicality. And he has added a lot of playmaking to his game this past season. He's got a great shot and is ultimately kind of a well-rounded player who comes up in clutch moments. Wheeler's article on him details how he is a guy that when the chips are down in big games, that's a guy who comes through. So these are the names, man. These are the names I'll be watching for.
I've got an honorable mention, Ross, and tell me what you think about this. I could see the Ottawa Senators being interested in Mason West as well.
Ooh, that would be fun. Would we be posting? So if you don't know Mason West's story, you can go check out our entire profile on him. But he has decided to play hockey. He had Division I football offers as a quarterback, but he's playing his high school senior year as a quarterback
with the boys.
Yep. So will we, if the Senators draft him, be posting football highlights at Sens Central on Twitter, man? Like, yeah, I think his footwork here could translate.
Well, I know you're saying this tongue-in-cheek, Ross, but there is a lot of things where you notice, and we talked about this, I believe it was with Sebastian Hyatt in our mock draft. You can see that he has that quarterback ability, like his ability to scan the ice, read the plays, make good passes. Like, I know that's what a quarterback does, but on the ice, he's able to do that. And he's got the size, 6'6", 207 pounds, a right shot centerman. Now that he's decided to commit to hockey, I know you mentioned he's going to play one more year of football, but that's more for the vibes, and I respect that. I think he could be a good player, and he's rising up lists for sure. So I wouldn't be that surprised if I think that would be more of a trade back scenario, Ross, where they select him. But the Sens love raw athleticism. Like, this guy had college, D1 college offers to play a different sport. Like, that shows good athleticism. And to be a quarterback, that you have to be smart, like to read playbooks, to read defenses. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So he's obviously a smart kid too. So that's another guy I would be aware of as well.
And that is our top 10 from the standpoint of who we think the Sens could be interested in. Pillsy, what is your hope versus your expectation tonight at the NHL draft for your final thoughts?
My hope is either Braden Coots or Ben Kindle. I would be ecstatic.
Or Blake Fiddler.
Yeah, well, I'm getting that.
Oh,
don't say what.
I just didn't want you to forget. I didn't want you to spend all day saying I didn't let the people know. I would be happy.
No, I would. Those would be the two picks I would be most happy with. And then realistically, Blake Fiddler is an Ottawa Senators type. I would be happy with that. I like that pick. I would support that. I'd be excited about it. But the upside is much lower than Kindle and Coots there. We have to prepare ourselves for Jack Nesbitt being the pick. And I know the narrative and the way I've been talking about Nesbitt, people are like, why does Pillsy hate Nesbitt so much? I don't hate Nesbitt. It just would be the exact same thing that the Ottawa Senators do every single time. And I don't want to see them do that. Simon Wang could be a guy the Ottawa Senators pick. And again, I don't want to make it sound like I hate the kid, but just that is not, I don't think that would be a smart, responsible decision here. And then I could see Bill Zonin and Malcolm Spence being also realistic options here, and I would be happy with either of those guys as well.
For me, it's just about changing the mindset of how you're going to select players. Let's see some high-end skill injected into the Ottawa Senators. Let's see if they can agree to terms with Claude Giroux this weekend. Would appreciate a team-friendly deal, obviously. I know we had a comment yesterday saying, you guys wanted to sign him for $5 million. Well, as you know, with any budget, which is what we're doing that episode, you want to make sure that you are overestimating.
And Ross, we didn't really at that time consider bonuses. Like, that wasn't something that affected our cap hit decision. So that changes things because the bonus culture is getting out of control here.
If there's bonuses that get him to 5.5, let's go. If he gets to the second round of the playoffs and plays 50% of games, plays well, give him whatever the heck he wants. Let's go. Let's just make this team better this year.
Second round of the playoffs is
that's the goal for next year.
Okay.
Then for this upcoming year, it's a 1-year deal.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he'll want to come back and maybe take a bit of a discount. The guy's gonna make over $100 million no matter what he signs on this next contract. But anyways, lots of hopefulness going into this year. It's where dreams come true for 32 kids. And just remember, if you have a strong, hateful, negative take on draft night, it can and will be used against you for years to come. So just enjoy it.
Is that a threat?
On that note, we say goodbye. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. We'll be back after the first round of the NHL draft tonight. And stay tuned for our live stream tomorrow that will begin at 11:30 live on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe so you know exactly when new videos go live. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Enjoy the draft tonight. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.